feels invincible, fearless as the wind, slicing like a shark, drifting through the cars, weaving through the traffic jam, off into the dark. The time slides into the moonlight. I can't deny the time slides into the moonlight.
People, listeners of indie music, here we are, another episode, if you will, podcast coming at you. Today I have a really interesting artist who's been making music for a long time. He's got a lot of songs under his belt. Alexei Shishkin is coming in. Alexei, where are you coming in from, by the way?
I'm in Virginia right now.
Nice. Good old Virginia.
And you're up in beautiful Quebec, I think, right?
That's right. I'm coming to you from Montreal. I say the city never sleeps in the north.
Yeah. That's my, I think it's maybe my second favorite city in North America. So,
Sweet.
It's home of the legendary, is it called the Green Spot? There's like a weird,
Yes.
Yeah, the Green Spot.
Yes. The Green Spot is very famous for their hot dogs. Not a grilled hot dog. These are all steamed with water. And they make a beautiful poutine, which is our native machination of fries and sauce. And
Yeah, I think I had both of those things when I went, so I got the full experience.
There you go. Well, anytime you want to come back up, the door's always open. Us Canadians are a little less ready to go down south at this point in our history, but
I don't blame you. Of course, I don't blame you at all.
We want to come home and not end up in some prison somewhere. So, I digress. Alexei, thank you for this. Alexei just, by the way, had a new record came out September 5th called Good Times. And that came out on Rue Défense, or Rue Défense.
Yeah. It's true. I never thought about the French connection there,
Yeah.
but yeah, so that's my friend Graham's label. He started that a while ago, and him and I met in Portland, Oregon a long time ago, and then we lived in New York City at the same time. He ended up moving to Houston, Texas, so That's where the label's based right now. And last winter, I convinced him to let me start a crazy idea that I had, which is called the Rue Defense Tape Club. So we ship out these like custom cassettes. They're like these little compilation cassettes.
Cool.
And they're only there's no digital versions of them. It's just that's it. It's the analog press. So that's it. And
that's cool.
Yeah,
where
shout out to
somebody
Rue
like
Defense.
myself be able to purchase one of these? Is it something where you get in touch with you guys? Or?
Yeah, tapeclub.substack.com is where all of that is. And then you can also, you'll find links there to sign up. And if you want to email us, you can, and ask us questions. We're pretty easy to reach.
Yeah, that's a great idea. I'll put the link in the on the blog when I post this cast, people. So don't be frantically trying to rewind things because you can't right yet. It's in the link box. Don't worry about it. We got you guys covered. So, Alexei, I always love to start these off with a little bit of a skip down memory lane. And kind of like drilling down a little bit some of those moments that kind of brought you to where you are today. Now, I know that you're not only a musician, but you're also what do you call them? A filmographer? No.
Yeah, a filmmaker, I guess is what I would say.
I was trying to do choreographer, film. That's not
yeah.
word,
Well,
sorry.
people would say videographer in some cases. I don't know. I filmmaker is a good catch-all. I mostly focus on editing. That's kind of where I shine, editing and writing. I hate actually holding the camera. I like telling people where to put the camera, and I like to deal with what comes off the camera, but I don't want to hold the freaking camera. So yeah, filmmaker is a good catch-all.
I like it. So, I mean, just to say that you're a very creative person. You have a lot of different creative outlets that you deal in. Where did all this start with? Like, what were some of those early recollections that you have where you started to think about this day and where you would be and how you were going to get here?
Well, I don't think I ever really thought about where I would be. I just kind of thought about what I was doing at the time and if it was fun or not. And that's kind of just how I still approach things. I think
Cool.
it goes beyond my hobbies like music and stuff into my career as well. Like I freelance and I run like a little video production company. And the few times that I think it's maybe once or twice I've tried to take a job in house at places, and I think maybe I'm ready for it now, but at the time I was just too young for that sort of discipline in my life, and I was like, oh, you want me in by 10 a.m., which is, to be honest, a great time, and I'd be like, I'll come in by 11 and I'll leave at 4, and then I was like, why'd they lay me off? But
mystery.
yeah, so no, but to answer your question, I don't know. It's just kind of, I always found it was fun to try and make music, and I just always wanted to give it a go. I think when I was maybe like a teenager at some point, I started to take an interest in just trying to record things. That was it. I was like, I had a little microphone that I plugged into my computer, and at the time there was a thing on the Windows machines called Sound Recorder, and it allowed you to record up to 1 minute of sound. And I would just basically sample random things and, make some random sound collages. And that ended up turning into making hip hop beats. And then that ended up turning into making music with me singing on it. So here we are. I don't know how many years later.
And I heard a previous podcast where you were talking about this beat, and I was quite fascinated about it, sampling. What how did that all begin? Like, what door opened that you suddenly were interested in creating samples and stuff? Because they come from somewhere, right? Somebody creates all these little things that you hear on everyone's songs.
Yeah.
It's cool. I'd love to understand how that came to be.
Yeah. So for the sampling stuff, I think my earliest experience with that was, this was back in the day. I don't know if this was high school or middle school. I can't really remember, but it was either early high school or late middle school. But so 8th grade, maybe 9th grade, something. There was a friend of mine, I guess, or an acquaintance at the time. He went to like a fancier school than I did. And he went to one of those fancy private schools where this was like a crazy thing at the time. Maybe this is normal now, but they gave laptops to their students. Like when you registered for classes, you got a laptop, and this is like an 8th grader with a laptop. It's crazy. But they were given the MacBooks, which was nuts. I was like, wait, they give you a laptop and it's a MacBook and it has GarageBand installed on it. And we would just play with GarageBand, go in there, grab little loops, drop them in. And that was probably my first kind of introduction to sampling. And, when it comes to guitar, I actually have Guitar Hero to thank for that, because I was so obsessed with playing Guitar Hero that I eventually was like, why don't I just try to learn real guitar? And it's just technology has been my path into music.
Right. And I mean, when you're creating a loop also, it's not like you're it's like creating a song, but a little snippet of a piece of a song, right? Like it still has that mindset in it where you're trying to find the right beats that work together, and the timing and the tempos are all like you're dabbling in what you would later dabble in as a musician.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I think the one thing that starting with like sample based music making or whatever, or like loop based composition, what's really interesting about that is it starts to develop your ear and your just conceptualization of arrangement more than it does. Like, yeah, of course you learn stuff about melodies and about chord progressions and stuff like that, but really you start learning structures more than anything. So like, yes, they are like little snippets and little loops, but then, let's say you've got 5 loops and you have all five of them on, maybe that's the chorus, and then you mute 2 of them and 3 of them are on, and that's the verse, and then you leave 1 of them on, and that's the bridge or whatever. So it started to make me think about structures, and it ends up kind of being weird because now I barely use real structures at all. I just sort of like make these like 1.5-minute long songs. So who the hell knows where it's gone?
Well, it's interesting. I was on your Bandcamp page, just like it's like a feast of music. And And I really enjoyed your Some Songs I Made. Now, this is the first one that you put up on Bandcamp June 11th, 2013. So, I mean, 12 years ago. And then as I progressed through your catalog, I started to realize your voice becoming more and more present. Like those early recordings, your voice is kind of in the back, like a part of the instrumentation almost. And then slowly you start stepping out. So my question is, what was the process of you finding your voice?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I think there's maybe one answer that is a very like logical answer, and it's that kind of started living in places where I was more able to sing loudly because I stopped having roommates and stuff like that, or I'd maybe go to a studio and really record so I could actually sing. I didn't feel like I was disturbing people. But you know, more than that, I think it just I would go back and listen to it, you know, because I like to go back and listen to my own stuff sometimes. And I would go back and listen to songs and I'd be like, man, my vocals are really buried in there. It was just about my evolution of listening. I started listening to it with a different perspective, I guess. And I didn't feel like burying my vocals as much. And I felt like I need to put them a little bit more forward. But now I feel like maybe moving forward, I'll start burying them a little more. I don't know. Like that's honestly something I was thinking about because there's so much stuff that comes out now where, you know, or I go back and listen to older stuff where the vocals are like buried and I'm like, man, I need to like experiment with that a little bit moving forward. So yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see, but hopefully that answers it a little bit.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I love the evolution or the, you know, evolving. And I mean, all of that craft that you have, you've already, you know, you got it in your toolkit so you can kind of pull out what you want when you want. Have you found that how have you found that your sound has developed over all these years? Like it started very, you know, do it yourself, very bedroomy, kind of distancy at times. And it seems like it's evolving towards a closer, more intimate experience with you as a singer-songwriter. Does that speak to you?
Yeah.
Alexei? Yeah. Can you like tell us a
it's
little
probably
bit about that evolution?
Yeah, sure. So it probably has to do with sorry, it's another boring answer, but it probably has to do with getting different gear and like learning different techniques. I think on like the very early stuff, I was singing into like, so through filmmaking, I had like a shotgun microphone, which is the kind you put on top of a camera. It's a long, skinny microphone. Right. And I had a thing called a dead cat on it, which is like a windscreen, basically. You put it on, it's a big fuzzy windscreen. So if you ever see like news cameras, you'll see they got this big fuzzy mic on them. I had that, and I would sing right into that big fuzzy mic quietly, so it was always real muffled. And I used drum loops that I kind of just made myself. I'd have like these drum samples and I'd trigger them whenever they needed to go. And it came to be a very sparse sound. And then as things evolved, I just started either calling up friends who played drums and like lay down some drum tracks for me, or I'd start getting in the studio and having like an actual, you know, a friend record me who like actually knows what they're doing, or I'd get a new microphone, or I'd start using it. I'd start being closer to the mic, you know, whatever, learn mixing techniques, start using actual drum backing tracks that like were recorded in real studios. And I think all those things put together just kind of makes it a bigger thing. Although I do want to revisit some of that sparse stuff. You know, I think it could be kind of cool.
Yeah, totally. Not a boring answer at all. Very interesting, actually, because your process is so different from any other process I've heard. So super interesting. And have you found that your songwriting process has changed over time? Like how you go about approaching writing music, or like a song? I'll frame it this way. When do you know a song has legs to it? And when will go on the shelf behind you where you just kind of need to put it there for a while and maybe it will come back out. But like, when do you know you're onto something when you're in your process of writing music?
So my process is a little bit, it's very, solitary because I kind of just do all this stuff in my room for the most part. Even when I do go into a studio, well, that some things are sometimes different. I don't know, but I'll speak to, mostly my process is me in my room doing stuff. So I generally will open a session in like Logic or whatever I happen to be using to be tracking at the time. And I pretty much just kind of start random stuff. I mean, sometimes I'll like start with just a tempo and pick a drum loop. Other times I'll maybe have a progression that I want to explore and I'll just play that and then chop it and loop it. But generally, like the songs kind of start with I very rarely am like, oh man, I got an idea for a song. It's more like, oh, I got some time and I want to have some fun. Let me just open this program and see where I end up with it. It's almost like, maybe when people are like, I don't know, because I'm not really a painter, but when people are painting, maybe sometimes they'll just have a canvas and start painting and see what happens. They don't always set out with an image in mind. Right. So in terms of knowing when it's good or not, I guess after I am done with it or getting near done with it, I'll listen back to it. And it's different. It's always different. There's sometimes when because you're playing it back as you go. And there's sometimes when I'll have worked on something for like 30 or 40 minutes and I'll play it back and I'll just be like, nah, I got nothing else. The inspiration's out on this one. And then that one just, that session just sits there and eventually I'll revisit it and maybe try to do something. But I have like this backlog of old demos. I think there's like 70 of them. And I was like, oh, should I do a Mac DeMarco style thing where I drop like a 200 song bullshit album? But I think Graham, my friend Graham, who runs the label, talked me out of that one. He was like, don't do that. And I was like, all right. The next week I was like, I'm really glad he told me not to do that.
You'd probably still be working on parts of it. Well, yeah. in essence, you work pretty quickly. Is that accurate to say?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
And I want to kind of drill down a little bit on how you like your process to be kind of a private. It's an intimate process for you in the sense that it's not a space where you're welcoming other musicians in and it's like a co-creation. And again, correct me if I'm overstating myself here, but if we look specifically at Good Times, your latest release, I heard that you recorded it in 4 days. When you brought the stuff to the studio, were you pretty set on the arrangement of it and how you saw it playing out?
No, there was no stuff. I just showed up and then we kind of did it. Yeah, like my friend Brad runs that studio, Bradford Krieger. The studio is called Big Nice and it is in Rhode Island. It is an incredible studio and Brad is an amazing musician and producer. And if it wasn't for him, this thing would not even remotely sound like it does. He really can bring it. But yeah, Brad and I are good friends. And so when so at the time I was living in New York, right? And I just every so often wanted to just take a break from the grind. And to me, like booking time with Brad and just going to play music was like a great vacation, right? So I would just go, hey, what's your schedule looking like for the next 6 or 8 months? What do you got? And he'd tell me what dates he's got. And I'd go, cool, let's book some time in May or whatever. Let's book these I think this one was in July. I don't remember, but let's book these 4 days. I'll come up there and then we'll play. In the past, I had come up there with, like you said, with arrangements, with ideas. This one, I was just like, well, me and Brad are at this point so locked in and we can kind of just like have fun and improvise. I'm just going to show up without even my guitars or anything. I just got on the train with my laptop and went up there. The laptop was for work. It wasn't for the show or not the show, for the record. Yeah. And I got in there and we just started like improvising, basically. That was it. It was just all improvised. We had Dave Kahn come in and play bass for the first half of the first day because he had to work and I forgot to tell him that I booked these days. So he was like, I can come in for half a day. I said, okay, great. Like, here, let me play you some drum loops and you just start improvising over them. Then Brad and I took his bass lines, chopped them up, arranged them wherever we wanted and kind of just made a record. So it was, yeah, there was, to answer your question, there was nothing. It was a blank canvas when we walked in.
Wow.
So
I mean, it's recalling me to the story you told about the loops and the sampling, where it's, we're piecing things together and finding the structures as we're going, kind of like hearing that, putting that there, repeat that over, stuff like that.
I think that the reason that it was able to come together so seamlessly is because both Brad and I have a very similar approach to music where we're not super precious about it. Like our goal is to just like move through it and make stuff. And we're not going to really want to sit and I don't want to speak for him, but I feel like he would agree with me. There's no need. There's this point of like where you're spending more time on it than what you're getting back out of it. And I don't want to sit and remix a thing. I was listening to a podcast the other day where I wasn't sure if this was a joke or not, but they were talking about how like U2 goes through like 170 rounds of mixing their shit. And it's just like, I get it. You're U2. That's a different story. Right. But like, for little old me, like I don't want to make someone sit there and mix my music for a whole day while we figure out like let's just record it and move on. One thing that was really great in our process was that I like to just be agile and just keep moving. I don't really care about what amp we're setting up, what guitar I'm playing, what mic I'm using. So for a lot of that shit, we just took the guitars and we plugged them directly in and just used like whatever was on the computer because it's just easier that way, and we're more flexible and more fluid, and we can just kind of go wherever we want. Because what's worse than like having an idea and then having to wait to set it up? Then the inspiration goes. We might as well just have it ready, just start playing.
Right.
That was it. It was that.
I mean, so are you saying that these 12 tracks that make up Good Times, again, came out September 5th, 2025? People check it out. That it would be almost impossible to run through this set list live. Like
I would have to. I mean,
in that improv nature and I don't know what I did. I mean,
if I could, if I got together with a group of talented musicians and let them show me how to play the songs, I'm sure we could get through them. So I'll tell you a quick story. Like with part of this rollout, we had to, or I had to play like do these sessions, I guess, right? So like a radio station would be like, hey, can you record a session for us? And at the beginning of it say, hey, this is Alexei and I'm doing this exclusive session for blah, 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 blah. Most people, when they do them, they'll just like grab an acoustic guitar and play 3 of their songs. And I was like, well, I don't know how to do any of that. Like, I don't know my songs. So what I ended up doing, I had to learn a couple of them. So I took the wave files and I like put them through a stem splitter and started isolating the bass, trying to learn the bass. So I did that with a couple songs, but for the most part, I was like, I'm just going to record covers, man. Cause like when I go back and listen to old, like John Peel sessions, right? Like with, Pavement or Micro Disney and stuff like that. Like I love when those bands that I loved are playing covers of stuff. There's, I think, a Pavement Peel session where they play Killing Moon or something like that, Echo and the Bunnymen. And it's like, that's cool to me because that's like I'm getting one of my favorite bands take on a favorite song of theirs. It tells me stylistically how they would do it, but it gives me an insight into what inspires them. I think there's nothing cooler than a cover. So all that is to say, that's what I did for a lot of them because I don't know how to play my own songs.
Right. So it must also, if 1 + 1 = 2, you touring with this record would be slim to no chance.
Out of the question. Zero chance. I have zero desire to tour ever in a musical capacity. Touring and doing like a show on stage, like a podcast or something would be really fun, or even being a part of like a theatrical production or something would be really fun, I think, but not doing a music thing. It's like, I've just been around it so much at a small, like a low level, that I've seen and I've heard stories of how like the tours are and shit. And if I was like 23, cool, that would be amazing. But it's like, I'm going to be 30. Yeah, I'm going to be 36. Yeah, I'm going to be 36 next year. I don't want to go sleep in the van or like lay on the floor at a friend's house or something. Like, it's not for me.
Right. And was it always like that, Alexei? Like when you started recording, if, back, again, just referring to your Bandcamp page, 2012, like digital started to happen, started to come forward. Like, was that always the idea that I don't want to be a performer. I want to be a crafter and a maker of music, but listen to it on Spotify or whatever. Don't expect me to come play you lullabies or anything like that.
Yeah, and it's just my personal enjoyment comes from playing the music. I don't really, no offense to anyone who might enjoy the music. I thank you and I love you, but I also don't really care if they like it or if you like it or not. Like, it just doesn't bother me. Like, right. I just like making the music, and my favorite part is recording it. Like, I love the recording process. I think it's so much fun. And especially when you're in a studio with like one or two other people who you're just like mind melded with, there's nothing more fun because it's just like a group art project. It's so much, it's so cool. Again, I get, like, I've always called myself a hobbyist musician because, like, you can't achieve a career in music without, for the most part, without touring at some level or playing live. Yes, you can potentially figure out a way to cobble one together, but it's very rare. And, music to me is one lane. That's my passion lane. And then I have other skills that make my career. It's video. Right.
And you've always been aware of those two lanes that you set up. Like, it's, and I respect those lanes. I would like those lanes. I'm staying in those lanes because that's what I want.
Yeah. 100%. I think early on. Early on, I wasn't so sure of it from the career perspective. I knew that music was a passion. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do career-wise. So for a long time, I thought it was to work in music doing video stuff, like doing music videos and like any, whatever, all that kind of stuff. And I did that for a little bit, and I hated it. I don't really enjoy doing video stuff for money that is creative. I just don't want to be burdened with that. I think that's a lot of pressure. I don't want to do that. I'd rather like put my skills and the craft that I've mastered towards like just very black and white corporate work where like, here's your boxes, check them off, get it done, get the paycheck, go home. That's what I like. I like doing video stuff if it's for me and it's passion and I can control everything about it, then I'm in. But I don't want to I don't want to like really have to answer to people in that regard, I guess.
I love it. And you and I are no spring chickens, right? It's good to come to a state in life where you are happy with where you're at and you're not trying to recreate yourself, like, you could like little nuances and stuff. Sure. I'm going to stop drinking coffee, or shit, I'm going to give jazz a try again, or whatever it might be. Right.
Yeah.
But at a certain age, you kind of like start to understand who you are and what you want.
I just think it's, to me, a lot of my favorite artists are ones who have continued making stuff and have never been afraid to sort of just do anything they want. So like Martin Newell is one that comes to mind. He had an act called The Cleaners from Venus. He like kind of does anything he wants. He doesn't try to chase some sort of image or something. If he's inspired by something, he'll make it. Another guy whose stuff I really love is this guy called Sean O'Hagan. He was in a band called Micro Disney in the 80s. And then he was a part of Stereolab. He formed the High Llamas. He's done work with Tim Gain from Stereolab, doing other stuff. But all that is to say, like, if you go and listen to his work from 1980 to present, you're going to get such a wild ride of different stuff, but you can still see his influence in it throughout. I've always thought that shit was really cool. I think like, thank you for listening and going back to some of the old stuff, because I think I described it this way on a different show that I did, but I always say like, this is the stupidest thing, but my music like discography, whatever, is like a shawarma where like I'm just stacking like slices of meat on the spit and just letting it marinate, and it's a product of time. It's like in an ideal world, one person goes back and goes, "Whoa, there's so much to dig into here." Because that's what I did with the High Llamas. That's what I did with Martin Newell. Like even Guided by Voices and stuff like that. I'm like, oh my God, like there's so much to dig into here. This is so cool. So hopefully someone can have that experience.
Well, I love that illusion you just made with layers, because the cake on Good Times brings that to mind as well. The multiple layers of stuff.
Didn't even plan it, but that is a happy accident, as we say.
There you go. Well, Alexei, this has been really cool. Thanks so much for taking a bit of time out of your day and sharing some of your thoughts and process and how you got to where you're at. People, go check out Alexei Shishkin's, I hope I'm saying your name right? Shishkin.
Yeah, it's correct. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Just as it's spelled.
There we go. Great record. It's got a lot of fun, a lot of variety to it. And I really appreciate this chat. So thanks a lot, man.
Yeah, thank you.
Cool.
There's that expression, that eternal expression that won't disappear. It won't disappear. Reptilian brain, reptilian brain, reptilian